Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and welcome, Mr. Nathan. I want to start by associating myself with the comments the chairman made at the outset and the comments that the ranking member made at the outset. And I am very concerned about what we saw emerge from the House of Representatives yesterday in terms of their 302B allocations for SFOPs. In my view, that represents a retreat around the world at a time that we need to be more engaged, less engaged. And I hope that, I know this committee has had a bipartisan history in terms of recognizing America's role in the world and the need to use all of our tools to engage around the world, especially when, as you've said, we are competing around the world. We have a good product to offer. China's investments often come with strings that result in bad things happening to those countries. But you can't do this on the cheap. And you can't do it with rhetoric and no resources. So it's going to be really important that we move forward, including the DFC. I want to commend the chairman not only for his role in establishing the DFC, but the legislation that I'm proud to co-sponsor to fix this budgeting issue. It's absolutely nuts to count an equity investment as a pure grant. Nobody in the private sector would think that makes any sense. And since these investments are appropriately public-private partnerships, we want to make sure that our dollars can travel as far as they can. And we're essentially handcuffing you in the DFC when we place that limitation through the budget county rules. I am pleased that yesterday in the Senate Foreign Relations Committee, I chaired a nomination hearing for someone I hope will be your deputy, Nisha Desai Biswal. I hope we can move that confirmation forward as soon as possible. Let me ask you, Mr. Nathan, about the issue of critical minerals and what role the DFC can play in this area. I appreciated our conversation after you returned from a visit to the Indo-Pacific, including Indonesia. But right now, we know that we are way behind the game when it comes to critical minerals. China has secured access to lots of critical mineral deposits around the world and is the world's largest processor of critical minerals and the world's largest manufacturer of batteries for EVs, which is going to be a very important part of our future and our future competitiveness globally. So can you speak to what kind of projects, investments the DFC has when it comes to securing our supply chain for critical minerals?
Thank you for the question, and thanks for chairing yesterday's nomination hearing. We are the owner of about I think it's about 12–13% at the moment of a company called TechMet Limited, which is a US-aligned platform for investing in the mining of critical minerals. We made an initial $25 million investment. We've made a follow-on $30 million equity investment recently so that they could pursue cobalt and nickel mining and processing in a more efficient way than the standard of the industry in Brazil. We're going to have some follow-on projects with them elsewhere in Africa, focused on rare earths and other minerals. There's 2 projects that we're currently working with them on. This is just an example of the difference that equity can make. In these kind of projects, the ability to make equity investments made them possible. We wouldn't have been able to, at the early stage that we were involved, be able to use debt. But we're looking beyond just this relationship. There's a whole series of projects in other rare earths, in critical minerals, in the manufacturing of batteries, and even in graphite. We hope to be able to announce a deal later this year in that regard, graphite being a critical component of being able to manufacture batteries. This supply chain, you're right, is already very much dominated by PRC entities, but we have to begin chipping away at that, at the mining, at the processing, at the manufacturing level.
Well, I appreciate it. And I think right now you you're hamstrung a little bit in terms of the rules, because I think we need to do more than chipping away. I mean, I think we need a surge effort in this area, and I look forward to following up on the conversation we're having here. I worry that we, the United States, and even our allies, are perceived in some cases of over-promising and under-delivering. The President and the G7 announced the Partnership for Global Infrastructure Investment with the goal of investing $600 billion by, I think, the year 2027, approximately. Can you talk about the DFC's role in that effort and the extent of resources that you're investing at this time?
Yeah. So the areas of priority for DFC dovetail very nicely with the Partnership for Global Infrastructure and Investment and the effort that the G7 is making. Last year, out of our $7.4 billion of transactions, $5.2 billion of those qualified as PGII projects. This is helpful to have this more whole-of-government effort with our interagency partners, but beyond even the U.S. government, our G7 partners are critical in helping amplify the amount of capital available for the kind of private sector investing that we do. Under PGII, we've made a great deal of effort to coordinate with our counterparts in the G7 and more broadly amongst our allies, particularly in Europe and in Asia. By working together, we can create greater efficiency, bring more resources to bear on these projects, and really chip away at what is the thing that I hear constantly, that DFC needs to do more and do it faster. That's our effort, and this is a helpful part of that.
Well, thank you. On the do it faster part, any suggestions you have as to how we can be helpful to you in that, or whether it's internal to the executive branch process? I would welcome any suggestions on that front, because I think moving quickly is obviously very important in this global environment. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank